In the shadows we survived. Chains couldn't bind our soul. Echoes of our ancestors' cries now unite to make us whole. Through the storms and the pain, our spirit never broke. Maroon blood in our veins, igniting the fire we stoke. Maroon fire awakens, burning bright in the night. Truth and justice, it beckons, guided by ancestral light. From the ashes we ascend, with courage in our stride. Maroon fire won't bend, in unity we confide.
All my trials and tribulations, I had to get the right education in order to build a strong foundation. Doesn't happen overnight, it takes patience. Know sometimes the road, it seems long, but you gotta hold your head and be strong. Long as you know that you can make it, you just go through trials and tribulations.
Hear the call of the drums, feel the rhythm in your soul. Maroon fire overcomes, making the broken whole. Maroon fire awakens, burning bright in the night. Truth and justice, it beckons, guided by ancestral light. From the ashes we ascend, with courage in our stride. Maroon fire open, in unity we confide. The fire within us burns eternal, a beacon for generations to come. Maroon fire awakens, our journey has just begun. Burns eternal, a beacon for generations to come. Maroon fire awakens, our journey has just begun.
These what? Black folks. You never find a white aborigine. Aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine.
Peace to the party. It's your homeboy back again with the news. And we got a good show for y'all today. From Rome to Reconstruction, the history of the freedmen. So y'all know we've been breaking this down, going piece by piece. Welcome to the Sunday service. For those of y'all who knew how we rock, just sit back, get prepared for the show. So we're going to start off with a little news. All right, so this situation is we're trying to point out the hypocrisy in the media and how it's being used against us as the American peoples, and specifically the Black community, right? Because that's what we address here. So I want to talk about this story with Kyron Lacey, football player from Louisiana. Rest in peace to him. But for those of you who aren't familiar, a little while back, he was involved in an accident, all right? And through this accident, he was headed to get ready to go to the NFL. An accident happened. The news put out that he was the cause of this accident that caused another man to die. All right. So when this happened, he got pulled from the NFL draft. The social media went crazy. The TV media went crazy, all painting the same narrative before this man ever had his day in court. So I want to play what the other side is saying, let you hear a quick news story of the updates of what his attorney is alleging has happened, and then we're going to kind of go from there. So let me take it over to the other side. Let's see what they got to say.
His death in April. Ori hasn't stopped trying to exonerate him from allegations he caused a fatal crash in Thibodaux that took the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall.
Was a great man with a loving family.
State police charged the wide receiver with negligent homicide after they say his actions of illegally passing cars caused another car to fatally impact Hall's car as they swerved to avoid Lacey.
I've got everything. I've got every piece of evidence I have viewed. I've examined every piece of evidence.
Ori appeared on a segment on HTV with host Martin Foles to discuss what he found in the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's investigation as compared to the original state police investigation. The conclusion of the DA's report was that Lacey was not responsible for the wreck. Ori also shows surveillance video of the crash.
In the top left of the screen, you're going to see multiple cars just making their way south to Thibodaux, coming from Vacherie. At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to a stop, and then you'll see Kyron Lacey come to a stop.
The video provides key insight that was previously withheld, according to Ori.
At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
But perhaps the most concerning of Ori's findings,
sir.
This interaction recorded on body cam of a state trooper getting a witness statement.
Okay, just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes, and the brakes, like, you know, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that charger, and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger.
But then you hear Gold Truck, the witness who's the Gold Truck, what he says. And he says verbatim.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it. That lady in the back of me, she didn't saw what was happening. That's how she called that wreck. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side. And right in there.
I didn't skid marked or nothing because I wasn't even going that fast. That lady in the back of me, she didn't see what's happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was going to run into the back of me, and she pulled into the other side.
Both Ori and the district attorney's office say the trooper coerced the witness into blaming Lacey, despite that not being his recollection of events.
So I want you to hear it because, you know, we be unbiased, right? So due to the families, so you hear that there was a state trooper involved with coercing the witness to put something exactly in the statement to make it appear as if the football player, Kyron Lacey, was the cause of this accident, when the witness was saying that it was a car behind, it was a lady in the car behind him that instead of crashing into his car, she swerved around the miss, but when she swerved into incoming traffic, this is what caused the wreck. This is what the witness said, but the police was telling him to say otherwise. So there's also a young lady, you know, due to the family's request, they literally put this out on Facebook. I'm from Louisiana, so I had people updating on, you know, real time what was happening. And they don't want this lady's name to be put out because they don't want the same thing that happened to her that happened to their son, to where the social media pressure takes her out. So I ain't gonna say her name, but I just say this: she's of the community, right? And she goes to Southern University, and she colluded with the trooper to tell this lie so she ain't have to take her leave, right? But that's not even the most important part. That is very important. You know, this corrupt state trooper, the lady who didn't want to take what she did, take accountability of what she did. But the point I'm trying to prove here is the media. The media knew that this hadn't went to trial. There was no proof that had come out yet for them to be able to paint this man in the way that they did. But they went that way anyway because it's profitable. And then a lot of people ran with it, which caused him to take his own life. All right. So when people say that media and social media is not real, we got to move past that because this stuff is way too powerful to be acting like it's not real. So look, R.I.P. to Kyron Lacey, you know, a young life lost that was very promising, had a lot going on. So I hope that his family, I'm pretty sure they will, they see this through all the way to the end. but we're going to talk about the power of corrupt media, right? So let's move on to our next news topic real quick, which is out there in Chicago. So in Chicago, I'm pretty sure y'all have seen on y'all socials, they're talking about ICE, but the way it's being spun by some of these so-called influencers is that ICE is targeting Black Americans, and that's just simply not true. So I want to show you, shout out to Amos, he out there in this area, and he showed something on Facebook. I'm trying to figure out, why would any American citizen be out here attacking ICE when they are coming to get illegals? That makes zero sense, but y'all may think I'm capping. So let's play the boots on the ground footage, and we're gonna take it from there.
De-escalate, officers! De-escalate, officers! Use your fucking training! All that fucking tax money, use your training, officers! Learn to de-escalate. Step the fuck back, officers! Use your training and de-escalate! Nobody here got weapons! De-escalate, officers! De-escalate peacefully! One drug apple's not speaking for the rest of us. De-escalate, officers!
This is my community. You just fucking This is my community. Leave.
This is not you city.
This is my community. Leave.
Senora, are you fucking kidding me? All 30 of you are fucking senora?
What's your name?
Hey, so as y'all can see, they're going crazy out here, but these I don't understand why any American would be intervening with this, because I guarantee you this: you take your ass over there to their country, any one of these other foreign countries, and think that you just finna be illegal over there and have safe haven, you got another thing coming. So check this out, though. I want y'all to hear from another sister I respect out of Chicago. This is what she's saying to the Black community while she's actually there. So check this out.
And urging my people here to pause so that they can process things. Y'all talking about them coming down on that building out south. Whole time, that building used to be predominantly Black. That building was predominantly Venezuelans, okay? There are people from that neighborhood that have been complaining about that building for a year, okay? They showed y'all broken windows and shit that were already there. These are the things that y'all have to stop doing. And this is why I keep telling people here in the city, particularly Black people, pause so you can process. If y'all start responding to shit out of emotion, then you don't know what the fucking play is, because you haven't had time to actually think. What people are doing are trying to get a rise out of Black Chicagoans, okay? That was one incident. Then you had the guy out west that had the accident, and they pulled him out, and one of the agents was choking him, and people were recording it, okay? So again, follow-ups to all of these things, never. Nobody ever comes back with the follow-up. They talking about, oh, they're arresting Black people in Chicago. All of the Black people that they took from that building on the south side were released. The 37 people that they detained were all Venezuelans who were part of a particular gang.
So for those who was questioning about who I am and where I'm at, this is Adam Clayton Powell. This is the building that everyone is in an uproar about. So as I said, South Shore, this is your community, your neighborhood, and this building was not majority Black when the ICE came the other day. Yes, Black people were affected, but this building was overran by illegal Venezuelan gangs. And I just had several conversations with residents who are moving their stuff out of here that confirmed that. So stop letting media put that false narrative in your head that somebody coming for you, because they not. You was born here. You was born on this land.
You was born on this land. Hey, so look, this is why we do what we do, right? We try to correlate history with current events and law and show you how they all go together, right? None of this stuff is new. It's just more powerful now because in our hand, we got these devices where we connected with each other instantly. We connected to the media sources instantly, right? So this is why we do what we do. But hold tight though, all right? So that's our introduction. That's the news you can use, letting you know about the power of media. But like the sister said at the end, this is your land. We're going to break down this Freedmen story so we can finally put this to bed and really show what this means. So we're going to do a quick little commercial break. I'm going to bring up Matt and we're going to get to the bills, y'all. Hold tight.
Whenever I start to feel alone, I just play the voice loud that I say before things change. Now I read the message you sent, trying to tune out when you say I know you love me, but you should just forget about us.
All right, check. We finna get to it. I'm finna bring Mac up. 1 second. Mac, what you got for me?
Hold on, get my camera right.
Yeah, you sideways. I'm feeling the shirt though. Make sure. Yeah, there we go. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What up? What they do?
What up, bro? How that concert was last night, bro? I like that.
It was popping, man. I ain't gonna front. Freddie did his thing. You heard me?
Yeah. You gotta let them know we outside in the real world too, bro. We ain't out here hiding behind computers, and we really touch the people, man. I don't think they understand that about us.
Oh, we outside for real though. Shout out to all my folks outside. You already know what it is. Esther Lucy.
Peace to the party. Peace to everybody.
Peace to the party.
Whether you on Twitch, whether you on X, whether you on YouTube, we appreciate y'all. See what this stepped our game up, man. Hey, they wasn't expecting They wasn't expecting this, bro. Hey, but I want y'all to know it's on. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. But we gonna get to it though, Mac. Hey, so from Rome to Reconstruction, the hidden history of the freedmen. So tell us, let the people know what inspired the bill for the service for the day.
Well, as we were doing our what we do internally, you know what I mean, and what we got coming and stuff in the new year, these are the things that we've come across since we took a break, you know what I'm saying? And I felt obviously, I've been telling folk in Clubhouse, especially when y'all see me on Clubhouse, for those that be pulling up on us, I be saying, Rome's the referee, you know what I'm saying? So as we track in Rome, all these things reveal itself in their system of law as the referee, you know what I mean? So again, I felt like, what's the case of this word? These words like manumission, you know what I mean? This word like liberty, you know what I mean? What's the foundation of, like how people say etymology? What is the foundation of the law tied to these words? And obviously, Latin jurisprudence, as we know in America, Latin is still tied to our jurisprudence, and it goes back to Rome. So I figured that we should, but see, as a group of people that within this, and this for my folks out there on Sunday service that do read the book, as they call it, the Bible, the Tanakh, or the Torah, you know what I'm saying? And we're dealing with it from a national standpoint, though, you know what I mean? So I wanted to get started with something. I mean, I know you got a clip that I showed in the Bible, right? I want to show that.
It was tripping.
Walk into it.
It was tripping the way it loaded. We could just talk about it, though, because it was only like a little short, right?
Yeah, it was just a picture.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't played right on my shit. Yeah. So we just had to talk about it.
All right, no pressure. Hold on.
Now, so while you get that ready, I'm just going to the people, what we trying to break down today. So we tracing the legal and the political evolution of the term freedman from Rome, and we're going to lead it all the way up into America. All right. So definitely we doing this slideshow. So when you see certain terms, you can take it away, go and do your research. If you got questions, put them. Obviously, we can't derail the show, but we'll try to get to them if we can. All right, go ahead with it, Matt.
I bet. So obviously, anybody that wants to go to the verse is going to be in your biblical book. You know what I mean? Any edition. I don't care what edition you use, right? This is going to be tied to Rome historically. So, we ain't here to talk about no idol worship or nothing with this. We're talking strictly dealing with the system of law and how these situations were underneath Rome. Now, It's called the Synagogue of, I'm gonna say, freedmen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's from everybody out there in layman terms, right? But within the book, it's gonna, at that time in Latin, it's gonna use the word libertine. You know what I mean? Liberty, libri. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be the term. It's gonna be Acts 6:9. So Acts 6:9. You know what I'm saying? It's talking about in Jerusalem, Stephen debates with Yahudim from the synagogue of the freedmen, Greek libertino, and it says these were descendants of Yahudim enslaved in Rome and later manumitted or freed captives from Pompey's conquest, 63 BCE. They still saw themselves as faithful Yahudim, but their identity was shaped by a Roman manumission. Okay? You know what I mean? The synagogue of Satan relations to this, by the way, when you hear people talk about later on, obviously dealing with Rome, when you know, people hear that say the term synagogue of Satan, they're actually talking about the synagogue that specifically was dealing with Rome during the time frame of, you know, looking at Yahshua a certain way. This is who Yahshua is talking about. He's talking about this synagogue of people who were Roman citizens, like Paul was. See what I'm saying? So within that context, you know, matter of fact, I'm gonna give you that, and you can go to the verse if anybody want to check how that relates. It's
Yeah, give him the verse. Give him the verse.
Okay. Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. He says, "I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but they are the synagogue of Satan." John's vision is not about geography, but about false allegiance. Those claiming to be Yahudi while portraying conventional truth. It says this is about political, religious compromise. You see that? Not no idol worship. This is about you compromising your own ethnic group because of you following after the ways of the foreign nation. At that time would be Rome. And it says this is about the political, again, I read it already. So calling Caesar king. And this is what proves that. They were these people of that same synagogue, Libertino, those synagogues, aligning themselves saying, John 19:15, the chief priest of the synagogue, which will be the synagogue of the Libertino, freedmen, at this time, John 19:15, the chief priest cried, and he says, "We have no king but Caesar." By declaring Caesar as king, they rejected the authority of their creator. And then it says, and the Messiah, who was Joshua at the time, you know, that Pilate put on the cross. And it says, this moment reveals a synagogue of Satan posture. So let's connecting those dots before we go into the fact that what they also understood, and I'm gonna give you that for we, you know, I know you got, what's the first source you got out of the
So I got something for you real quick. I'm glad how you broke it down that way to start it off, because you went to the Bible. So a lot of people who don't understand our autonomous thought process, they thinking that we're coming on some Christian related messaging. So just to have your back real quick, watch this here. Watch how you just alley-oop this. Let me see if I can get it on here. All right, check this out, Matt. So the year of the Bible, we talked about this several times before. The year of the Bible is important because it proves that the Bible was referenced, and everybody knows that the common law on which the Republic of America rests comes from the Bible. The Bible is a law book. If you didn't know that, you heard it from the Autonomous Party. You can Google this. You can do your research. The Bible is a law book. Right? So when he's referencing these passages, it is showing you how they were saying and how to basically put yourself in a jurisdiction that counteracted what was coming from the Catholic Church. This is why this is the way they made the Republic in America. So I want to make sure they understand you, man. You ain't trying to preach to them. You're trying to prove to them because we already know the Pope and King James had beef, right? We didn't lay that down. You done broke it down several times. So just know that the Bible is a law book. This is why it's being referenced. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so within that, you know what I mean, just gonna throw real quick, as you said that, you know what I mean, is before Rome and the law book of the Bible, right? They had the term of their own governance autonomously, and how they dealt with Gentiles, meaning how they had other people now underneath them, and they treated them like freedmen. See what I'm saying? Now,
Mm-hmm.
these Gentiles, the term that they use, and I'm gonna spell it for the folk to go research, is going to be HOPHSHI. Hush is how I would pronounce it, but HOPHSHI. You know what I'm saying? It means to be free, loose, exempt. It says in Torah, Hafshi means released from servitude, no longer under obligation to a master. It appears especially in laws of Hebrew bond servants. It says key verses. I'm gonna give the people the verses so they can take their time to go read it. Exodus 21:2 through 5 and 5, 26 through 7. Excuse me, 27. And it says the Hebrew servant serves 6 years, then goes out hashpi for nothing. And it says Deuteronomy 15:12 through 18. In the 7th year, a Hebrew male or female servant is set hashpi and provided with goods. Job 3:19. The small and great are there. The servant is hashpi from his master. You know what I'm saying? This is all these verses talking about their system of governance. You know what I mean? Before now they become underneath Rome at this time that we're talking about, and now Rome has them in their land as freedmen. You see what I'm saying? Based off the system of Rome governing them and Caesar being their king. You know what I mean? So I hope that broke that down. I just want to make sure that was kind of clear. So Yehuda freedmen versus the Roman freedmen system, that we just kind of comparison. Those verses would show you that they obviously had a system of how they dealt with what they call foreigners, you know what I mean? Or people that would be servant to them. And at the same time, how the comparison is now is that obviously, you know, the freedmen would do things a little bit different on the Hebrew side, Yehudim, before they came underneath Rome. You know what I mean? Obviously in history. The Jubilees, Sabbath years, and all that kind of stuff was tied to it. That's why they say every 7 years is tied to Jubilees and stuff like that. So even non-Hebrew slaves had protection. That's right. Even non-Hebrew slaves had protection. And it's Exodus 21:20 through 21, Deuteronomy 23:15 through 16. This system, I said again, this system of laws affirmed human dignity as covenant property of Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? Not of men. Now, this is just all jurisdiction. Now, Roman freedmen, libertinus. Libertinus, that's the word in Greek for freedmen. In Rome, a freed slave, libertinus, was manumitted by his master, but he remained legally inferior to the freeborn citizens.
Right.
Ingenious.
That's very key. Listen, what you just said. So basically, making a distinction, you could still be freed, but you won't have the status of people who basically are indigenous, who are sovereign to this area. It's still a different status, even though you are freed using this terminology through this system.
Exactly. So that's just, you know, the layout of that. So within that, you know, we broke down, I think real quick, you know, try to keep this simple, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How at this time, you can go reference the biblical book to see how this switch takes over, and how obviously what people argue about then with the New Testament, because it's the time frame when they're really showing you Rome is governing over them. You know what I'm saying? After the Greek, it's the Romans. Before the Greek, it was the Persians. See what I'm saying? So understanding that whole, and that's all in the biblical book. You know what I mean? If you want to walk down people tied to being in exiled positions, I guess today people want to say chattel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exiled positions underneath foreign powers that have them as second-class people in their own indigenous land. It's not nothing new. You know what I'm saying? So however the case that works out, I hope that's clear. I don't know if anybody in the audience don't understand that. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you know, that makes sense to everybody that's there.
As we walk, it'll make more sense. Let's let the slides guide.
All right, boom. So now you got to this right here. You know what I mean? The paragenus, non-citizen, foreign under Roman authority, right? So this is going to take place around the time of Homeboy. After, hold on, matter of fact, I'm gonna give them.
Yeah, let's be right and exact. Let's be right and exact. So while Matt pulling this up, we going down. It's a term right now, right? The peregrinus, non-citizen foreigner under Roman authority. All right. So the system that we are under today is a Roman system. This is why we starting here, so you understand how it was used in Rome, and we're gonna walk you up to America. Like we said, we took the time to put it on some slides. so y'all can see these terms, go research them on your own, and be able to follow this trail that we on, or put us on new information, or we always down for correcting if you feel like you have some information to contradict that.
Right. So boom. Before we get to this term, I'm gonna leave it there though. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna walk them into it, right?
Yeah.
So this before we get to when this is taking place, you know what I mean? Because this takes place after a certain period, and people can go trace this too. So
correct.
Before that, as we just gave them the timeline of, what's the word I've used for the Roman period, 1st century, 2nd temple. You know what I mean? This is really what those verses are talking about. And now before, where was I? Okay, boom. Before certain edicts would take place, which is going to lead to this term being used. You know what I mean? It's going to show you that Yahudim had mixed legal statutes under Rome, right? Citizens like Paul. You can go to Acts 22 and 28, and that will prove, obviously, that he was a freedman. You know what I mean? Not only a freedman, he was actually a Roman citizen. Saul, who became known as Paul. Now, within that, you know what I'm saying, freedmen colonies. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Freedmen colonies. Right?
Yeah.
So descendants of manumitted Yahudi captives. This is provincials. That's what they were called. Those freedmen colonies were provincials under this word right here. So a freedmen colony is literally this term right here that's on the screen. You know what I'm saying? So it's tied to status, which is free but without full Roman rights. You know what I mean? As this is breaking down. You know what I mean? So that's what Paul and them were technically in positions of. You know what I mean? When you look at Paul, actually, you know what I mean? Now, because we're going to be right and exact about that. You know what I'm saying? This is the position of the freedmen, of libertines, also called the synagogue of freedmen. You know what I'm saying? That we gave you the verses for. And this is time frame of Rome, 1st century, 2nd temple period, and go on before that, because they didn't just become underneath Rome. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't in a free position before that. You know what I mean? As we know, other foreign powers. But this right here is the situation tied to this word right here. Paul would basically be your example of someone that's basically in that position when it comes to Rome.
Yeah.
You know
and Kofi said it sounded like an indentured contract.
Oh, that's what they're basically in. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're basically in. Yes, that's exactly the comparison of what they're in. And it says that, so before, and we're going to go, I know that's going to probably be the next thing, you know what I'm saying? But that is the foundation of that. So everybody can just do their comparison and understand the time frame that we're talking about and these Roman terms that they're using for people like Paul. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that is that clear. You know what I mean? I hope that's pretty clear on that part. So I can walk into the next. What you got on the next slide? That covers that 70 AD.
Okay.
See, that's 2nd temple period right there, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Real quick, let me get some shout outs, man. So, like I said, y'all, we on X, we on Twitch, and we on YouTube. So we got Cool Whip. He say greetings from England. Peace to everybody in here that know how we rock. We got OCO from the Wire Nation. All right, peace to you, bro. All right, yeah, Matt. So let's keep it rolling, bro. We'll get to the next slide.
Word. All right, boom. And we walking right into it. You know what I mean? So from 70 AD, matter of fact, and I gotta give him that work with this period right here. From 70 AD, a lot of people after the 2nd temple, they was like to say everybody got lost.
Yeah.
But what happened was, obviously, when we understand the 2nd temple period, 70 AD, and how the destruction of it, you know what I'm saying? The destruction of it, you feel me? So on after the 2nd temple, homeboy, I forget the emperor's name off the top of my head right now. At that time, but everybody can go research who's tied to the 2nd temple period as a Roman. You know what I mean? So right now, in that understanding of the 2nd temple period, this is when that Roman person. Let me get his name. Hold on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be exact about that right there.
Be exact, my boy. You know how we do.
Hold on real quick.
Yeah, so while you pull that up,
I'm almost there.
Okay.
I got my notes. I got all these notes. I'm trying to make sure, you know what I'm saying?
Make sure we keep it flowing, my boy.
Yeah, you're cool. All right, so the 2nd temple in Jerusalem was Titus. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He was son of the emperor of Vespasian. You know what I'm saying? So it was this like revolts break out in Judea against Roman rule. You know what I mean? Which is them same
It was
synagogues.
bucking.
Yeah, the same synagogues of freedmen, libertinus, right? Paul and all them. Paul broke away from it, as we know. Everybody knows he's popular for breaking away and rocking with Joshua and them. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yo, we ain't rocking with the Romans and we ain't rocking with the synagogue of freedmen. You know what I mean? We ain't rocking with either one of y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's what's really going down. People get caught up in the other stuff. But this is the historical part. You know what I'm saying? So the revolt, a revolt takes place. You know what I mean? Like how we know in America, niggas were revolting against the plantations, right? So in 70 CE, Titus, commanding the Roman legions under orders of his father Vespasian, the emperor then, besieged Jerusalem. August 70th CE, the second temple is burned and destroyed along with much of Jerusalem. So at this point, you know what I mean? They're outside of now, they're being treated as enemies of Rome. You know what I mean? Even the synagogues of freedmen, they're out the loop after the temple gets destroyed in the mainland of Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? So they are, but you know, forget some of them have become citizens. You know what I'm saying? But those who now want to operate with and think that they're going to allow it, this emperor was like, I had enough with you. You know what I mean? Because they renamed Judea after that, tied to what we got today, Palestinian. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't know that either. You know what I mean? So within that context, it's like, yeah, that's what, there it is right there. You know what I mean? So 132 to 135 CE, and it's a revolt. And this right here is going to be tied to under Hadrian. He's the emperor at this time. See what I'm saying? So I just told you 70 CE, that's the emperor then, Titus and Vespasian. But in 132 to 135 CE, under Hadrian, the Bar Kokhba revolt erupted, and a major Yahudi uprising trying to restore independence. You know what I'm saying? It says after this crushing of the revolt, Hadrian expelled most of Yahudim from Jerusalem, rebuilt the city as a Roman colony, and called it Aelia Capitolia, with Pastilian on the end. You know what I'm saying? Aelia. I'm gonna spell it for y'all. Cause you know my Geechee pronunciation. Yeah. You know my Geechee Greek and Geechee don't go together too well. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Aelia space Capitolina. You know what I'm saying? This is after his family name, alias Hadrian. That's what he did. He renamed Jerusalem. See what I'm saying? So within that, why he renamed it? This is the name Palestinia was taken from the Philistines. You know what I mean? An ancient enemy of Israel, even though they no longer existed as a people. So Hadrian was being spiteful. You know what I mean? He was like, no, man, I ain't rocking with these people after that right there. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no longer bringing around me type shit. So that's how that shit was going down after the Bar Kokhba. You know what I mean? Revolt. You go look up all these events, and I'm telling y'all on the timeline, they just don't talk. Because remember, this is after the biblical book, right? So this is I think that's how that whole thing gonna work out when you look at that whole situation. You know what I mean? So I think that we gotta pay attention to the timeline and how this word, the synagogue of freedmen, and as we just got through breaking that down earlier,
it keeps evolving.
It keeps evolving, right? So now, obviously, we're gonna get to this emperor because we just gave you the other emperors. We gave you Titus, Vespasian, then we gave you Hadrian. You know what I mean? This is in 135. So 135 is gonna lead us up to Emperor Carcalia edict.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And that edict is when them. Remember the Yahudi, after all that politics, revolts and everything, their name, the place gets renamed. You know what I'm saying? Now homeboy comes in and says, you know what? I'm gonna make all the people in our Roman territories citizens.
Right.
I'm granting citizenship to everybody.
To everybody. Y'all remember this process right here. It's gonna come up again.
The edict of Carcalia. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you want to leave it like that, because I think that right there make everybody marinate on that for 1 second. Look at this edict. Okay. It's tied to 212 now. You know what I mean? So the whole Yahudim as a whole officially moved into the citizen category, but the diaspora identity remained closed, tied to freedmen experience. See what I'm saying? So they're being brought in, but they're still not being treated with full equality in certain cases.
Right.
And where they're located at. Now they mix in with royal families of these different areas and different things, right? In certain cases, those families are in different cases because of how they're doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? and who they're
Yeah.
mixing with, and with these.
So in layman's terms, this is the creation of the caste type system of a status-based system being introduced. Even if you were from this land, just like the others, they were creating terms based on your status with the Roman Empire.
That's what it is. That's 212. That's a very important AD, the Edict of Carcelia. Now, what we're gonna walk now after that is we got these people out in Rome got territory on the western side from 212, and they're holding these western territories we call Britain, right? Areas. They got all these colonies, right? We just got them showing you they got colonies, and they're controlling even the freedmen colonies, no matter where they're located at. Because homeboy's like, well, I'm gonna get my tax money from you, and you doing your thing. I'm cool, because I'm gonna make more money by having all of y'all underneath my jurisdiction. Kind of like a federal move, like how United States did.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the comparison. So when he did that, though, the Yahudim and other groups of people who obviously were either in allied positions or in positions to where they were enemies of Rome in whatever case, which we're not going to go into detail to throw nobody off tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These people, though, dark-skinned people, as we would say, I'm going to keep like that, niggas, they were on all these areas of Europe underneath the Roman jurisdictions at these times. At these times. They're already in North Africa, Iberia, West Africa, and Europe at these times. Now, West Africa is not underneath Rome at this time. See what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the key thing about West Africa at that time. Exactly. Rome didn't get there through none of their crowns in that part of what we call West Africa until obviously we know we walk down, way later. So, and that's through crowns, not even the empire, not even because this is the empire, not the Roman.
It was an advancement of the system, but we're gonna get to that.
Right. So now, boom, we walk up, and King Edward. Where you got next? Because I don't want to skip. What you got on your screen?
Okay, so just so we make sure we hit everything here, we showing them here. It's an edict. Okay. Add to this Constitutio Antonina Ninia. We just gonna guess, you hear me? But we know it's real, so go look it up. So this started changing. So key word here, Constitutio. What that sound like to y'all? Right? Okay, then. So this is showing you in 212 they had a version of this that was being enacted upon the people under the jurisdiction of Rome. All right, so this is what we're showing here, and that citizenship was an obligation. It was not sovereignty. So this was a way to displace people on their own land. So we just proven this existed very long ago and has been evolving and becoming more complex. So we got plenty of slides for y'all. So let's go to the next. Oh, Mac, did you want to talk about this source in here, or are you going to attach that? It's about the Jews in England, 1290. Or you want to wait?
That's going to be that's tied to where I was getting ready to go with King Edward. But what you got next on the slide? I want to get on the timeline right. For sure. See, these folks are already, all these folks are all underneath and tied to and have relations to this Roman allyship and whatever status, freedmen, right? Some in citizen positions, right. You know what I'm saying? And throughout that timeline, easily 212, when they're brought back underneath, all the way into, unless they're in regions, once again, unless they're in regions, and you can go research that, those areas where what? Rome ain't at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with that being said, you know what I mean, imperially speaking, you know what I mean? Like not no pseudo, nothing. Just that's the data referee, all the edicts are there. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So where we walking at next? Rome, legal, illegal. Okay, bet. Roman law, normalized.
So it's just a continuation, you know what I'm saying, of where we are with the whole Constitution and the Constitutio and the edict and everything being laid out. So we just talking about the legal framework of Rome. So you can connect it to whatever, you know, wherever you want to take it. But we still with Rome and them laying down everything in that area.
No, and within that legal situation, again, I want to make sure you say it one more time.
Yeah.
After Carcala's edict, the edict erased distinction between citizens and progeny. That last word we showed y'all.
Right.
It says all freeborn and freedmen, liberty, became citizens at that time. Slaves remain excluded unless manumitted, which would be manumitted at that time. Yahudim freedmen, descendants of captives or manumitted individuals were now legally civis Romani, Cives Romani, which means Roman citizens. This is why some chroniclers emphasize the Yahudim as being included in the freedman class that entered citizenship by Caracalla decree, which is tied to that 212 joint right there.
Right.
See what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So
tied to this right here, the constitutional.
Yeah. Ain't no going down. It's that constitutional, real talk. So at that point now, again, you know what I mean? We just showing you to the law. You know what I mean? People be trying to make it. I don't want to hear about no waiting for nothing to come. We talk about what already came. You know what I mean? This is the laws.
Hey, and this first bullet point right here, Emperor Caracalla aided extended citizenship to all free inhabitants.
That part.
This is very important. Remember this. We're going to use this exact same framing later with different people's names and different documents attached. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, so I mean, those terms, I mean, that's kind of cut and dry. Really, everything you see there on that screenshot and everything I'm reading in between it, hopefully people can now do their research. Y'all know how to tap in with us. You heard me? But that's for the presentation of the information as we're trying to walk you into a timeline of this with the laws and the edicts and the people that you can go research and showing you obviously the narrative of some people ideal that they were in an isolated situation because they go by the term African, right? Being that that term is not even being used until 18th century. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know that when you trace back the nations of people with Rome and what terms they're using to identify people of color, niggas. And at the end of the day, you know, we got to understand that niggas were freedmen from the first century easy. You know what I mean? Easy. Right. And had systems of freedmen for other nations of people. Easy. Niggas. However the case, what's the word? You want to go through that?
So I just want to go back. So now that we done walked to this point, I want to go back and I want to read what Wikipedia says about this term. So I like to connect the layman's term. I got a Louisiana education, bro, so I can relate to the people who may not. I'm gonna make it all make sense. You feel me? So we're gonna go here to Peregrinus, and I want to read what it says so you understand. So, and this is prior to the Constitutional. Okay, so it says in the early Roman Empire from 30 BC to 212 AD, a Peregrinus was a free provincial subject of the empire who was not a Roman citizen. Peregrini constituted the vast majority of the empire's inhabitants in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. In 212 AD, all free inhabitants of the empire were granted citizenship by the Constitutio Antoniniana, with the exception of the DC, people who had become subject to Rome through surrender in war and free slaves. Now, what do that sound like, Mac? That sound identical to the Civil War situation.
It sound identical.
Hey, but they're going to think we tripping, but we're going to show them how it all makes sense. So I just want y'all to hear this. Now, this is way, way, way long ago that this system had been enacted through Rome. Okay, this is the proof of it. Even if we broke down the terms first, then we came and read what Wikipedia says, and it's telling you the truth. You just got to know how to frame it and understand what's happening. So the crooked system that was all paperwork has been going on for a very long time. So when people think, when they come tell y'all this stuff, that it's just so easy to maneuver around this, and this was a very intricately webbed weave. You feel me? So this common theme that we put here is that the term is basically liberation on paper. It sounds good, but it's really subjugating you to a law system that the people have no idea about. This is what's happening. This is showing you the connection. All right. So it's a term that people have to take on that now restricts the rights that they just had prior to having this term. So I'm hoping y'all walking with us. Make sure y'all take down these terms and go research it. We preach. We giving you, leading you to the water, but we can't make you drink, bro. That's on you. You feel me? So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, that was a great example. I mean, you want to go to the next slide, or do you want me to? Because let's see where you.
So
at.
Now, I mean, we walking. It ain't too much. Like you said, in Rome, it's nothing but terms. We ain't trying to go through the whole Roman history. We're trying to break down their laws. So it's only so much. So if you want to connect, whatever, I know you probably got some more to connect before we start getting over into, what was happening when it started crossing the waters, but you let me know how you want to take it.
Yeah, I want to make sure they see this because see that you had that. Remember earlier on your screenshot, you said you had the Jews in 1290.
You want to go to that?
Yeah, we can go back to that. I'm trying to make sure that so I won't skip. We jumping now. I mean, because obviously we trying to
Yeah,
get
for sure.
more different time period. But these people,
And I'm gonna
once
put that
again,
in the
y'all, all
chat
them, ain't
too.
nobody lost. Yeah, ain't nobody lost. You know what I'm saying? These people who are underneath the jurisdiction, some of them are going into areas that are not underneath the jurisdiction, and that's really basically the distinction that needs to be made. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this link right here, you know what I mean? Shout out to Lee Cummings, by the way. Shout out to Lee Cummings, you know what I mean? He brought up this with King Edward, and I went and digged it up, obviously. Back then when we did the Negro Question series, plug to him for that series that he put out as an author, you know what I mean? And led us to a lot of things. We're like, hold up, because people always would say, well, how did people they want to call Africans were in Europe? Oh, white people brought them there. No, wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The exile, the diaspora, them people that say they lost, yeah, no, they weren't lost. But they all didn't obviously go into North Africa either. You know what I'm saying? Or West Africa either. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said though, the after the 212 edict, basically, we don't have no issues till a big edict is passed. That's why I'm going to an edict. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're going to get to King Edward the First in 1290. King Edward the First, Edict of Expulsion. The Edict of Expulsion, driving Yahudim. That's right. The same Yahudim had been in that area from the time frame of when we just got to giving you 212 AD. You know what I'm saying? In 1290 now, these same groups of people are being exiled, edict, expelled from out of England. One of the first national expulsions in medieval Europe. You know what I'm saying? Medieval time frame. This is before 1492. These people are being exiled in 1290 out of England. And guess where they're going? They're going into places like France. They're going into Spain and Portugal, which is the Iberia. There are people already there too now from the time frame of 212 AD. But now these people that were living in England because of King Edward the First, he is expelling these people and sending them, and now these people are having to flee that region. You know what I'm saying? So that a couple other things, because that's the major event in 1290.
Hey, Matt, real quick.
Go ahead.
So I want you to explain to the people, because a lot of folks, they may be new to us. They may think when we're talking about the Jews, we're talking about what they would call a white person.
Oh no.
But they've heard people like Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, who they think may be crazy. But this is what we do. So kind of let them know who we're talking about when we're from going in from Rome and these edicts going into the Jews in England in 1290. Who we talking about here, Matt?
We talking about the people that like Simon, who was being called a Niger in the Bible at the time frame of being at the same church that Paul was at the church of Antioch, which was a simile, ecclesia, that was where people being described as Niger, which is today we say Negroes, and they were considered as a national identity as Yahudim at the synagogues of what they call freedmen at the time by Romans. You know what I'm saying? So, and obviously they go out into these nations that Rome, as we just showed you, are treating other nations that they're dealing with outside of Yehudim people, and now how they're in these regions amongst other Gentile nations that they call Gentile and nation means the same thing. But they're niggas. I mean, that's what I'm saying, niggas. Like that.
There you go.
Niggas.
Just want to make sure they understand. Keep rocking.
Yeah, so with that being said, you know what I mean, obviously, just for the timeline of things, there's other edicts that's going to prove it, you know what I mean, matter of fact. But for 1290, I wanted us to stay there and leave that on the screen for people just to soak that in real quick.
Sure.
So after the 212 AD, I'm just going to give you a couple of edicts that lead to this one that shows why it all locks in, you know what I mean? The Edict of Milan. Constantine legalizes Christianity. Pay attention to the timeline. 313 AD, meaning Yahudim were already citizens underneath Rome in 212 AD, right?
Yep.
And Christianity wasn't even the legal system of Rome at the time, right?
Yep.
Okay, the edicts prove that. 325 AD, Council of Nicaea. The church councils established a doctrine. Oh, tied to that same imperial thing that was done in 313. You know what I mean? Separates Christians from Yahudi calendar law. Yahudim are being labeled heterics at this point. Because now they did the whole switcheroo. However, 380, the Edict of Thessalonica. I'm gonna spell it Thessalonica.
You had the Council of Nicaea in there, you said?
That was the one before that. The Council of Nicaea,
Right.
325 AD.
So real quick, let's frame it. So this is where the religion is starting to be tied into the Roman system.
Right.
Okay, so make sure that they following, because that's very important. So Council of Nicaea, I'm pretty sure several of y'all, if you're in your history, you've heard of this in relation to the framing of the Bible, right? But this is way before the King James. Go ahead, man. I know you got something.
That money, yeah. With that being said, though, the Edict of Thessalonica is spelled Thessalonica, and it says Christianity becomes the official Roman state religion. Yahudim reduced to a tolerated tax minority. Tax minority.
Say that phrase again. Say that phrase again. That whole phrase. What did you say it was?
A tolerated tax minority.
It's tolerated. If somebody said they tolerate you, is that good, man?
No, it's not good at all.
They irritate. Like you lesser, right?
Yeah, you being treated in a lesser position, and we're taking your shit and mocking you at the same time.
Okay, I'll just make it show.
Oh, that's what it is. So boom. After that, 395 AD, division of an empire. East, Byzantine versus West, both retain anti-Yehudi restrictions. So the empire splits. We letting you know when it splits, the East and the West side, but they're both keeping the restrictions on these same people who were citizens in their jurisdiction as they split. Timeline. See, 438 AD, you know what I mean? Which is going to be the Sodian Code, codifies many laws limiting Yahudim from holding office, building synagogues, or proselytizing.
From holding office or proselytizing. What's that, man?
Pushing with your situation and what you're doing about and what you about, etc. We can give them
being able to do your own thing, your autonomous way, your own religion. You feel me?
Yeah,
is this what that means? Right? Okay, so they got these black codes, Jim Crow laws, basically. Okay. All right. These terms, I hope y'all catch what we stepping in. Go ahead, bro.
Now I'm jumping. See, that's the fourth. Now we're in the 4th century. We're in the 4th century. Now the next major thing is going to be the 7th century time frame. This is going to be dealing with the Visigoths, these German crown in Spain. Yahudim enslaved or forced to convert under Catholic monarchs. This is when it starts to be done with certain crowns. This is the Visigoths at that time with the V. You know what I mean? And then it says 1096. I'm gonna jump again. The First Crusade. You know what I'm saying? Massacres of Yahudi communities in Rhineland, Germany, and France. So it's already proven the Yahudim, Swarthy,
into these areas.
Where are they at already? They're in
Southern and Western Germany. And Southern and Western Europe, rather, excuse me.
Yeah, that's the western part of the Roman period, right? You know what I mean? It shows you there.
And Rome steady chasing them. Everywhere that these people go to, Rome chase them to get them back under their control, because the Rome is spreading like a virus.
Oh yeah, and they ain't like they lost their western side of it either. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. So, they don't like they lose nobody.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That's why they came back. We're gonna probably do that on the next show or something, because I don't want to throw this off. But 1215, you know what I mean? Now the 4th Lateran Council, Pope Innocent III requires Jews, Yahudim, to wear badges and bans them from holding public office. See, these are
badges.
All these badges. This is what
and
the
they couldn't hold public
now.
Office. Yeah,
they couldn't hold public office. You know what I mean? Okay. 1215 AD. So now after that, we back to this joint right here in 1290. You know what I mean? And now I'm saying 1290, I'm gonna jump up. We're gonna walk up from there. It says England, King Edward I expels all Jews, property confiscated. 1306, France, King Philip IV expels Jews, seizes wealth, later allows some return, then expels again in 1394. 1348 to 1350, Black Death, Jews blamed for plague, massacres across Europe. 1478, Spanish Inquisition begins, targeting converso Moranos, Yahudim, who had converted but secretly practiced Judaism. Lord. And since 1492, the Alhambra Decree, Ferdinand and Isabel expels Jews from Spain. Many go to Portugal, North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, or West Africa. These is niggas.
Okay, so
Niger.
Yeah. So how far are you taking this? Because I'm ready. Now you got me. Now we starting to get to my bag of the time frame, because you talk so. Okay, so check this out. all those you leading up, we didn't got basically to the 1500s, right? And remember, we were just saying that everywhere that these Jews went, the Yehudim, Rome is not far behind them, trying to entrap whatever new. Because the one thing about these people that kept getting expelled, boy, they were some hellified builders. They knew how to network and put it together. They just had something about them, bro. So now these same people, they come to these European nations, they do their thing. Here come Rome. So now they going to other places, right? They done left Portugal, they leaving the rest of Southern and Western Europe, and they got to get ready to come to the new world, they called it, right, Matt? They say America was this new place, and now you will understand why certain people, we walked down, shout out to Lee Cummings, on doing the Black Europeans being the majority of the so-called Black people that was coming across this transatlantic voyage, right? Because they was being exiled out of these same areas that we talking about right now, chased through this Roman system that kept trying to strip everything away from anybody. It really ain't even had nothing to do with race. No matter who you were, if you were a part of this system, you were going to get taken advantage of. It had nothing to do with race at this time, right? Because it was as they would say, black on black crime going on too. You hear me? This ain't just this whole narrative that the big bad white man just came and changed our whole world is not historically accurate. All right. So we trying to paint this picture to y'all, show you the legal and the historical connection. Is what a lot of us been missing. All right. So Matt, so do you got anything else dealing with Europe or in Rome, or are we ready to start trying to make the connection to America? Where you at with it?
Well, I mean, I walked them into the decree, you know what I mean? Because everybody like to talk about slave trades, but you can't talk about no slave trade. You can't use the word African. Sorry if folks be mad about that, but, ain't no documents declaring anybody that today we call Negroes these terms, you know what I mean? In the 1492 time period, you know what I mean? Not even the Atlantic Ocean of what's next to West Africa and those regions was called the Ethiopian Ocean up until the 18th century too. So we ain't going we know too many details of what the Romans, who are the referees who are passing these decrees, and how they identified who they targeted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're not going to use layman terms that came about in the 18th century through freedmen ideals that took place in America that we know it has to be corrected, and no one wants to be accountable for those things. I'm not going to get caught up in that, though. I understand the status standpoint of it. We're emancipated, right?
Yep.
But in the manner of the 1500s to 1600s, which is going to be now after the decree was done. Matter of fact, what you said, Alhambra decree, Ferdinand and Isabel expels the Jews from Spain. We told you where they went. Some of them went to Portugal, North Africa, Ottoman Empire, or West Africa. Then 1497, Portugal, same people who fled from out of Spain and them areas, went into Portugal. They got kicked out of that area in 1497 by King Emmanuel, expels or forcibly baptizes Jews. Many Moranos, that's the term, Moranos, are shipped to Africa and the Americas. That's what Portugal's telling you they did. Now, 1648, the Kemsley Massacre. And I know I probably bruited that, so I'm going to spell it for y'all too. KHMELNYTSKY. I'm going to spell it one more time. KHMELNYTSKY. Massacre. Ukraine/Poland. That's that area. Tens of thousands of Jews killed. 1648. Yeah. Now, 1680. Where the dude at? Get to my buddy that I sent you, man. Can you show him at least? Can I pop up?
Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me because I ain't have his picture. You want me to pull his name? No, I got you. Hold on.
Even if you Google his name, he gonna pop up. I'm just gonna show the picture.
1 second. Let me get to him.
I just want to show the picture so people can see before I go in on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I don't want nobody. No, we like to give you visuals. You know what I mean? Because I ain't make this buddy up. You know what I'm talking about?
Let me get my boy.
And I will. A lot of stuff that we obviously the transcripts of some of the stuff you hear me for my notes will be posted on the news on X. Shout out to everybody that's over there on X tapping in with us for the first time, by the way.
Yeah,
Nothing but love
and
on that
Twitch.
side. You hear me? Appreciate y'all. And Twitch. Okay, shout out to Twitch. You heard me? Tap in with us. You heard?
I tell you, they didn't know we didn't upped our game, my boy. Trying to get his picture. Okay, here goes his picture. All right, so let me bring it up.
Okay.
Let me see if I can make it bigger. Damn, I clicked on. There we go. Hold on. Why does she feel like it's going opposite? Hold on.
It's going backwards.
Yeah,
What's that?
There you go. Okay, hold on.
There you go. Let me make it.
There we go.
Make it a little bit bigger. All right.
Oh, I'm gonna get it. Don't worry. Hold on. I'll make it a little one more size so they can really see. All
right. This guy by the name of Dom Lorenzo de Silva Mendoca. Anyone know who he is? I'm gonna tell you obviously. A 17th century, as we just said, 1640, so that would be the 17th century. He's obviously tied to Africa. He's going to be, because he has mixtures with people in Africa. He's mixed. He's a Creole. I don't know if people like to hear that, but he's a diplomat, a nobleman, and an ecclesiastical leader. Now, tied to the y'all folks that obviously Congo, Angola, you know what I'm saying? Royal descent. You hear me? Shout out to my folks that got any ancestry tied to that region out there. And then it says often described as from the ruling house of Ndogo. And it says, and connected to the Congo kingdom, educated in Europe, he became a Catholic cleric and eventually an archdeacon of the church of Tom in Lisbon. And it says, his prophetic role in history. In 1684, Lorenzo traveled to Rome and petitioned the Pope and the congregation for the propagation of faith, propaganda, FIDE, FIDE, okay, to condemn the transatlantic slave trade. He spoke on behalf of enslaved Africans across Brazil and Spanish colonies and Portuguese Angola. His petition describes slavery as a crime against humanity centuries before the term existed. He rooted his argument in Christian doctrine and covenant law, declaring enslaved peoples as legitimate nations of God-given rights. Now, his mixture, you know what I'm saying, is aftermath of the Iberian expulsion is what he's tied to. That goes back to that 1492 AD Alhambra decree. And when his ancestry went to the areas of Congo and Angola with the Portuguese who expelled them and brought them down there, or came down there after them. His context, by the 1600s, Portugal and Spain had scattered Yahudim into Iberia as new Christians, North and West Africa, St. Tom, Angola, and the Congo, and the Americas, Brazil, Caribbean, and Spanish colonies. That would be Florida.
Right.
By the way, and the Carolinas.
What's the East Florida?
All the way out to Mississippi, Louisiana.
Yeah.
That's what the Spanish called. That was their territories, right?
Correct.
That. Okay. It says these Yahudim carry surnames like Silva, Mendez, Da Costa, Henriquez, and all of which show up in West Africa and among enslaved populations in the Americas. There'll be other names that came out later. We ain't gonna do that right now, but what Lee Cummings had been talking about when them people come in.
These are different sets.
Different sets. They all come from different areas. They're not all coming out of West Africa. Tied to the European crown.
You just named at least 7-8 places, bro.
Yeah.
But it's only one place that's getting focused on, and that's for a reason.
Right. Exactly. And it says his reference to conversion. When he petitioned Rome in 1684, he argued against the injustice of enslaving baptized Christians, meaning people who said, I'm going to convert based on what happened to the decrees. Y'all want me to become a Christian. So now y'all should let us go about our business and all be paying our taxes, whatever the case. But now you guys are still treating us as if we are not Christians. And we did what you told us to do. So these ain't some people that don't know what Christianity and the law system is. You see what Buddy doing in 1684. You know
and it's also
he's
fighting against slavery is not to not be in whips and chains on somebody's field. It's your status and the way you were being treated by the government that is over you. So I want to be clear in what we're saying here, all right? Because that was not their main way of making money in Europe. They didn't have the land for mass plantations, even though the plantation system did come from Europe, right? But when they're talking slavery, we're going through that same, when them Roman citizens, when they first started doing that Roman citizenship, it wasn't to have people working in fields. Okay, so make sure we talking about a legal classification here.
Word. And matter of fact, we got this on the news on the X already from yesterday, and I did this ahead of time, so I wouldn't have to like keep everything in one place. So anybody that's live with it, they can see that. And I'll post this because it's already in the chat, so everybody that don't know, they can find it later on. And again, the rest I'll release after the fact. But let me put this in before I read from the matter of fact. Hold on. Okay, it's there. Boom, it's there. I put it in the chat on YouTube, by the way, y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me go back to it now, though.
Should I pull it up? I got something.
Where you at?
I just wanted to let them know that picture and everything is sourced. So this is coming from the University of Bristol, who did the research and was talking about what was going on, just so y'all understand where we getting this from. Because you'll see this is that post. This is just a regular blog post, but they took it, they sourced their work, just so y'all understand. This is who was putting this out, and they are the Center for Black Humanities at the University of Bristol. So this is a European institution, because everybody knows and talks about these things except for us here in America. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, so boom. In that time frame, tied to when we said the slave trade, 1492 and all that, right?
Yeah.
In the slave trade era, so we said how people were being brought and being called different things by the crowns. So the slave trade era, 1400s to 1700s, the homeboys, what? 1684, right?
Right.
Okay. Portuguese and Spanish didn't say Africano. I'm gonna say it again to y'all. The Portuguese and the Spanish never called nobody they had enslaved in that indentured, freedmen, or worse, enemy of the state situation.
Right.
They weren't calling y'all Africans at that time. I know y'all like it, but I'm just telling y'all the truth. This is in these early records, they use Negro, Moor, Moreno, Guinea, Negro, Ladino, Bozal, Mina, Angola, Congo, Wida, Carabelle, Mandinga, Yoruba. They called these people by their tribal names. They knew who these tribal people were. The Spanish and the Portuguese, and who Yahoo them mixed with them and trade and all that. They knew. You know what I'm saying? They already knew. Now, the French, it says English next. English and the Dutch records said Negro, Blackamoor, Guinea man, Congo Negro, Creole Negro. These are their terms. You know what I mean? For their records of people how from their regions. You know what I'm saying? French, obviously, Negre, Morisque, Guinea, or port of origin. French might have called you by the port you came off of. You know what I'm saying? So, but it says nowhere in the shipping logs, bills of sale, or plantation inventories do you see the term African as a blanket racial identity. You know what I mean? Because you know what's crazy?
It said nowhere.
Nowhere, bro. Nowhere. The requirement of 1510, right?
Yeah.
It tells you the Council of Spain, the Castile Council is saying, any conquered people who are not now underneath baptized, coming underneath our system, you are the enemy of the state. And that was Indians, Jews, and obviously the Moors, who they're calling Muslims in this case, because they already had problems with the Muslims in Spain from 711, as we know. So these different groups of people are all conquered or underneath the freedman position if they allied, became Christians somehow or another, politically speaking, based off of what was happening with the requirement of 1510. And that's still within the timeline of these terms being used for any groups of people who become baptized or actually conquered groups of people who are being enslaved and sent to work now labor-wise for this system. You know what I mean? And that's people here already and people over there, etc. But Yahudim, they're the ones that catching that work because they're the ones that already all these places based off of the citizenship and position they had, progeny and all them colonies they had set up outside their native land. You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting track, but that's what it is. So, you know what I mean? Requirement to a 1510. And I'll put that in there too for them because I got that ready in case they forgot.
Hey, so we done walked up. We done showed several different variations of different edicts, different laws, different everything being passed to convert, to subjugate people of different lands under the Roman system. So by now we've shown several examples all through Europe, right, Mac? I think it's pretty much safe to say we've covered the terms, we've covered the changing of the terms, we've covered the extension of the terms to different areas, and now we get into where these people is branching out further than just within Europe. They starting to come over to America, right? We walking them up to America now.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
All right, so before we do that, here's what we're gonna do. Let me make sure because we got a lot going on. So we got a lot of people in the chat. Appreciate the love on X, Twitch, and YouTube. Like you say, appreciate y'all tapping in with the party. For those of y'all who are interested, we got a Patreon. We do this all the time where we do these bills internally, right? Helping with genealogy, helping with a lot of other things that we don't just advertise because it's about giving the history first to draw in the people. All right, so tap in. We appreciate all the super chats, all the love. We are independent media, right? And the media, as we know, is important in the way that we push it out. So we need y'all support. So, Matt, this is what we're going to do real quick, bro. Let's hit them with a quick little minute commercial. I need to go grab some. Then we're going to walk them into America, bro. We're going to end this off and tie everything together and leave them on a good note, bro.
That's what's up. I'm with it. I know we got to get to America. You know, the time at 8 o'clock. I know everybody.
You feel me? So we about to get right to it right now. Hey, so quick commercial, baby. We're going to be right back.
Black leaves in the Mississippi River. Black leaves in the Mississippi fire. Black leaves in the Mississippi choir. Black leaves on the Mississippi land. And we've got and cotton, we've got sons and daughters, we've got grit and glory, we've got mother stories, we've got strength like towers, we've got hope and power. God made woman with an iron hand, raised her up on heaven's land. God made woman with an iron hand, raised her up on heaven's land. Strength like towers, we got hope and power. God made woman with an iron hand, raised her up on heaven's land.
Check. Man, I don't know. We was over here when commercials so hard, Mac then left the whole building. Let's see if we're gonna pull back up. So let me go to the chat real quick, see what we got. I'm about to walk y'all into America. So just shout out to everybody once again in the chat. Had some questions come in. Let's see what we got. So basically, Charles Clark asks, were those the Russian icons they murdered? So it's funny because I know y'all remember they were saying that Putin put it out, but it came from Russia where they showing all of these historical figures and everybody is black and they got all these different icons and paintings and murals, right? So now it's starting to make sense. Like the Europeans have been posting about the history of black Europeans, bro. It's only us in this Americanized concept that we just can't see it because we look at European and instantly think slave masters that had black people in chain, and it's just not the truth. You know, we've been breaking that down. All right. Max said he's trying to get back in. So That's what we get. So we're gonna do one more commercial break. Hopefully Mac be back straight, and we're gonna press on.
Start to feel alone. I just play your voicemail that I say before things change. Now I read the message you sent, trying to tune out when you say I know you love me, but if you just forget about us.
Hey, check. We back at it. So Max still not. We having technical difficulties, but it's all good because he just walked us into the Americas. And this just so happened to be my strong suit. So we're going to show y'all how we well versed at the autonomous party. And we really do this every day, so we can easily talk about it. So I'm waiting for Mac to let me know, but I'm going to keep the bill rolling until he can get back in. So where we at right now is the British Crown Charters and Roman continuity. Oh, there you go, right on time. Because he know one thing. Mac, I was just telling him, boy, you know I'm well versed. I'm ready to roll. I'm going to hold it down.
Man, they cut me out for some reason. Do y'all hear me?
That's how you know we cooking. That's how you know we cooking. But we back at it. We ain't even tripping. So look, this is what we at with it, Mac. You see the screen, huh?
Yeah, we on it.
All right, so let me hit the little tenets real quick. So the British Crown Charters and Roman continuity. So the Crown Charters in America replicated imperial franchises. All right, so now the colonists equal to corporate subjects under the crown. All right, so common law promised local sovereignty and civil law centralized authority. All right, so then we're going to get to how the revolution abolished the charters, but it didn't get rid of the trust and everything that was still tied to Rome. All right, so now let's walk them, Max. So we got to America, right? So now people thinking that they fleeing from this land, they get to America, they got the colony, but the colonies are coming from the crown. Okay.
Right.
But then they don't like how things are happening. You got the representation, we have the taxation, you got all those different things that happen. And then finally they get to the Revolutionary War, right? So they bucking against the crown, saying we want to do our own thing. We want to run our different style of government. But it was something that they didn't realize when they did that, Mac, is that remember that the Pope and them put the whole world in a trust. So all the land still belong, yes, it still belonged to them through trust law. So even though politically y'all don't want to align with us no more, we still coming back to get that land. What you think about that, man?
That's exactly how they looked at it. That's why when you look at everything they laid out, and the Pope is dealing with these different crowns. And before we took the break, we were talking about 1510. This is when they said, okay, we in Americas now. We got all these areas that we got our crowns tied to and lands that we in from their ideal. Remember, we said the edict and they said Christianity and they took the Bible now, right? And so all that they looking at from a lawful standpoint. So all that to them is they're like, we claiming this now. This is our jurisdictional ways of governing y'all now. So all these lands that y'all used to have, we got it now. You know what I mean? Anywhere you were trading at, we got it now. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Oh, you yourself. Guess what? We expelled you from out of our jurisdiction. So technically, you a refugee. You're not even wherever you go. We coming to see you, bro, because you don't even have no standing where you at. Because in our eyes, Roman law, and just like the crowns, you are a subject. If not, you are an enemy of the crown.
Yep. Yeah. So to put it plainly, now here comes the people within America who want to form their own republic, right? So they want to have some similarities to what comes from Europe, as far as being organized, right? Having a system of governance, but they wanted to be more free and they wanted it to be amongst common law. So this is where we start talking about King James in that Bible, right? So it says when we went to the year of the Bible, it tells us that this was used for America's laws because the Bible, the King James version specifically, was basically going against what Rome was putting out. This is why they were at odds. These were some of the Yehudim King James is tied to when they're putting out this Bible to basically contradict the Catholic Church. So now they make this Constitution, right, which was for the people in America. And there's a misconception out there that it wasn't including what they would call Black Americans, but we'll get to that later. But you can't say that when this was a majority people of the melanated people who are part of the forming of these charters, bruh. You know what I'm saying? This is what they don't understand, Matt. These 13 colonies wasn't a bunch of white people. We've already broken down that if you had these conversations with white people, you will find out that most of them, their genealogy was not here prior to the Civil War. It just is what it is. But we've covered that many times over, right, Matt? So here we are now, 13 colonies form. They go through an American Revolution. They start laying down their own system in America that they want to go by that's different than the Catholic Church, than Rome, basically, even though they still are bringing certain traditions with them, right? So they break away, so they think they free of Rome. So now you have this whole time, basically between after 1775, all the way up into the Civil War, of them operating within their own right. But what would you say to that, Matt?
No, you're 100% right. I ain't got nothing to say on that. Exactly that's how the shit laid out.
All right. So we're gonna keep walking. So now we got the charters. All right. So now this new world is acting as well. It will act as corporate Rome. All right. When they first set it up, prior to them bucking. So then Virginia, Carolina, and Massachusetts are examples of crown corporations. And so the plantation is a provincial Roman model reborn. It's a much better area to do this because America is lush with land, plenty of crops that grow out of the ground. They got water everywhere for shipping. Like, this was the perfect place to run this plantation system. So Rome was in love, but it didn't happen right away because the colonies were failing. They wasn't getting no money because they ain't have no relationship with the Indians right away. That had to be built over time. Right, so every colony was its own contract. It was not a nation. This is why they had to form later and make confederacies, unions. Both of those terms mean groups. So from individuals going to groups, so that they knew that was a thing. Okay, so after 1776, they split sovereignty but kept civil law alive. All right, so basically what they're saying is they got rid of the crown, so they thought, when it comes to their political ideals, but the crown still owned the land. So that's where the civil law comes from. So the Constitution was common law, right? Natural rights and juries. And then civil law is contracts, banks, and charters. That's where your Rome influence comes from, okay? So basically, the U.S. kept Rome's financial and legal structure, but under a new name. So that brings us, you know what I'm saying? So if they've been doing this since all the way from 212, basically, right? Because technically it's before that, but that was the biggest revision. All the way to now, we talking the 1700s. How much experience you think Rome got with implementing this system by then, Mac?
I mean, it's thousands of years. We got them in the biblical book, having synagogues, libertini. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Matter of fact, with that being said, I want to make a correction. A while back on our show, we did joint. Shout out to African Americans ain't Africans.
Ain't African, yeah. Yep.
Kerry Davis, I think it's Kerry Davis, man.
Yep.
Right? And
shout out to
him. And Michael Hampton. That's it. So when we had a conversation with them, I brought the word of Frenchy to them, like, this word African Americans ain't Africans. I'm like, yeah, they ain't finding nothing with the word African in it. The closest thing we could find is the French system. Same system where we see that we get the influence of the word chattel slavery from. which is still the Roman system. It's just the French
Correct.
terminology tied to the
It's just a
jurisprudence
French
of the Latin
word.
law. Correct.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now within the French system, just to show you how they had the same colonial system as everybody else, but now they use certain terms in their caste system. And this is where I make the mistake. See, I'm being humble to tell that to y'all tonight. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. That I only found this word of Frenchie in this time period. I couldn't find nobody being called an African. You know what I'm saying? But I'm finding these people who are now in the French system, Yahudim, or any other group, Gentile, that are going through the system to be considered a freedman, right? In the French system, they call them a Frenchie. You know what I'm saying? A Frenchies. It's spelled Affranchis. Freedman. You know what I'm saying? Labrie. You know what I'm saying?
Another
Labrie,
freedman term.
right, a freedman term. So as you say, as you just pointed out, how like the Roman system updated. So when you get to the crowns, the crowns all in their own system are dealing with the freedman foundation of how they got who's free and who's not, who's
But it's a
manumitted,
different
who's
name.
not. But they might have different names based off the colony that your people might be tied to,
Correct.
or mixed with, etc. of that system at that time, especially in this period. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure I stand on my ground and tell y'all if I'm wrong about something. I see it myself. I'll be the one to tell you that. England, obviously, too, as this is going to be tied to, you know what I mean, Virginia colonies, that's the 13 colonies. You know what I mean? They adopted the Roman principle, as you just said, and this is going to be tied to this something I want to point out. Shout out to Miss Angela. You know what I mean?
Shout out to her.
Partus sequitur ventrum. This word, it's a Latin term, going back to Rome. Partus sequitur ventrum. I'll spell it for y'all. Partus space sequitur space ventrum VENTREM. This word means to follow the womb, meaning any child that comes out of a woman will be in the status of what the woman is within the Virginia colonies. All right, England, tied to England. All right, this is England's situation, their system. Now, categories: free white inhabitants, equivalent to Roman citizens, free Negroes, free Indians, free people of color, equivalent to freedmen. This is in the 13 colony jurisdiction now. Legally free, but barred from militia, juries, testimony, and voting. This is what the freedmen group category cannot do within that system. That mirrors what we showed you back, right, in the biblical
In Rome.
frame, in the Rome, and all that in the Bible. Same situation, right? All right, boom. Slaves, property of what we call under chattel slavery, chattel law. Now,
keyword law.
Virginia, 1662, since you brought up Virginia on the screen, and South Carolina in 1700s, locked this in with statutes. Virginia and South Carolina, they locked this in with statutes to go forward with. You know what I'm saying? So free people of color equal a freedman staircase. It's like a ladder to you coming out of the manumitted system of what they got going on, right?
Yeah.
And state by state, you hear me? At this point, and colony by colony, tied to the Lord proprietors. You know what I mean?
Charter.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna drop it next week. I'm gonna say that one. The Lord proprietors are gonna approve my joint in 1660.
They got a lot of letters. Y'all can go look up just pre-game. The Lord proprietors got letters that they wrote back. That's in any archive that you look at online. You can find them. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. So in the Carolina one is the one I'm gonna show y'all next time I see y'all next week. I'm gonna put it like that. I'm gonna put it out there like that. The crowns using freedmen, obviously Spain, Portugal, France, England, US, post 1776 carried this forward in the one drop rule. The one drop rule was equivalent to how they would treat any group of people outside of the free white inhabitant that would be considered a citizen, right? That's what the Article of Confederation was saying, right? We ain't gonna say everybody's slaves. No, we're gonna say in 1776, any of you guys are of the got that one drop rule. You mean pass? You know what I'm talking about? Whatever mixture it might be, Indian, African, Swarthy, European, you won't be in this category, as we said last week on Sunday. See what I'm saying? It's not being biased, so I'm not gonna be biased either. You know what I mean? So in that case, that's that walk for that right there. And you know, you can keep it moving if you got anything else to say about it. That's what I got on that. That's easy.
Nah, so I mean, I just wanna point out where we at with it now, which is just connecting the dots on we are in the new world now, what they call the new world, and Rome envisioned it as they big masterpiece, right? The big money maker. So we just showing y'all different examples of the colonies and that were crowns. All right. So then we know about the American Revolution, and we also know that the Constitution comes from the common law principle, which was derived from the Bible. We want to make sure that we rock it. All right. So the civil law comes through the contracts, the banks, and the charters. All right. So now we're going to prove to you how Rome got back involved to use this system through that freedman term. All right. So now let's get to Reconstruction. So the Civil War done popped off. Okay. Now it's much disputed what the Civil War actually entailed as far as the physical part. Right. It's a lot of documented things that they put out, but it's hard to substantiate in a certain way because there's a lot of contradictions. Right. But here's what we do know for a fact happened. The 13th and 14th Amendment. So now keep in mind everything that we laid out through this Roman system. And I also want you to remember the talking points like us and several others on YouTube have been saying about you need to do your genealogy because the story isn't as simple as they made it seem, which was we over here at the Autonomous Party have always been saying that the so-called Black American is comprised of what they would call American Indians and Black Europeans. Okay, and we only use Black melanated Europeans. Yeah, that's the Yahudim, right? Because that could be, you don't have to be Yahudim to be Black European, but the Yahudim were described to be Black, and a lot of them come from European areas. All right, so basically, this is your mixture. This is the main mixture, and some of you may even have African, right? However, that first two pair is the biggest pair that we've seen through historical records. So keep that in mind. You got people that have been exiled to come to America through the crowns, and then they left them colonies and they was coming south to get that money that we know was happening after the American Revolution all the way up into the Civil War. The South was going crazy. And there was a lot of them same Europeans that left the colonies who understand business, a lot of them Yehudim who knew trade, right? They come down south, get a relationship with the Indians, and like, hey, y'all boys got more tobacco, more cotton than y'all can deal with. I know somebody who will buy this and they'll go crazy for this, bro. You see what I'm saying? So they putting the plays together. Rome did not like that. This is why Rome financed the takeover of this new system through the banks, okay? But they had to pay people off in America. Some of these so-called patriots, they sold out to the bag because they knew that they was going to come with the money and finance them and put them into a position of power. So everybody would ask, how did they pull that off? With this legal paperwork. So you got the 13th. The 13th Amendment is it abolished slavery. So servus libertas. You remember we talked about these terms coming out of Rome, right? This is showing you the 13th of this happening. And then the 14th Amendment, it created federal citizenship. So what have we learned from Rome? When they create citizenship for everybody, is never a good thing. It's taking you from one place and taking you lower than where you were. So now that meant that you may have been a citizen of Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, wherever, but then you became a U.S. citizen and it took away your statehood. So former state nationals became persons. And we talking heavy in some aspects, but we can't baby y'all. All right. Go look up what the word persons means in law. So we became persons under federal law. So freedom became registration under jurisdiction. Okay. So just like Roman freedmen, the post-Civil War citizens became registered dependents. And federal incorporation doctrine bound states under centralized authority. So in the last show, we broke down the incorporation doctrine, which is basically a legal framework to make something appear like something else. So for example, we went by the Constitution. Well, our ancestors went by the Constitution, but then this 14th Amendment citizenship mimicked what came from the Constitution, but they left out certain parts. And they could legally do that under this freedman 14th Amendment citizenship position. All right. So the dual citizenship that they gave, it replaced the state-based autonomy. And that was the whole issue. That's how they displaced the South, man. by coming with this and saying y'all ain't state citizens who got y'all own autonomy to do y'all own constitution now. Y'all got to do what we say under these civil codes. Y'all got to use our banks, pay our taxes, or you can't do what you're doing. No.
Exactly. As you
So
broke down last week.
Exactly. So this ain't nothing but a refresher for some of y'all who was there with us last week. But just so you understand, now this should make, if you were with us last week, what we're saying today should make a whole lot more sense on why this freedman term is not a good thing. So when people proudly proclaim that they are freedmen, or people talking about the FBA but can't explain their genealogy, bro, we being played. You see what I'm saying? They gave us this term which was never positive throughout history. Go ahead, Matt.
I mean, it's a Roman term. I mean, even if you want to go with Yahudim or even whatever the Guinea African kingdoms, I mean, every system outside of even Rome and Yahudim, people had their terms. I mean, I know people have been stripped of preserving where everything they're tied to in their heritage or genealogy, but when we decide to just deal with a systematic term because we could delineate from other people who went through the same system in those Caribbean areas, it's just that they came into America with the nationality, because now underneath those systems, they went from being in those free people of color categories in Caribbean to being now equated to being a Jamaican fully, with the full citizens as all Jamaicans would have. No matter what ethnic group they were in Jamaica, you're all a Jamaicans. We're the only ones that can't really point out that obviously after 1776, and this became a nation separate from the crown, right? They excluded certain people from having certain rights in the politics, in the voting, you know what I mean, of their situation. The same way, you know what I mean? And that's why it goes back to, as we originally started, Rome is the original pattern, as we showed y'all in the beginning of the show, of the joint. You know what I mean? It's going to tell you in Rome, again, the word is libertini, freedmen. We're allowed to gather in associations. It's also tied to how we say college today. Collegia, collegia, all right? Collegia. That's what's tied to.
Like collegiate.
Right?
Yeah, I see
like
it.
Collegiate, yeah. All right. But only with imperial approval and never as a sovereign, autonomous group of people. This is after 70 CE. I'm giving y'all just a recap and say here. When the temple was destroyed, Yahudim were taxed under the fiscus judicius, and that's going to be spelled Fiscus, and then space judicius, Judaicus. Their assemblies, which at that time they called synagogues, were watched, and over time Christianized. The freedmen assemblies were encouraged as loyal alternatives. Then it says this was how Rome shifted control. You know what I mean? European crowns in America, as we just got to going through in America, right? So European crowns in America, Spain and Portugal, the Yahudim could gather in Catholic confraternities, I'm gonna say it like that. You know what I mean? But not as
fraternizing, talking amongst each other, grouping,
yeah. But they can't do a synagogue on their own no more. France, free people of color could form Catholic brotherhoods. It's spelled Cofradius, or it's Cofradius, and it's spelled Cofradias, but never independent. You know what I mean? Congregations.
That sound like the Masons.
Yeah. England and the colonies, freedmen and free people of color could open churches, but only within the recognized Christian denomination. Anglican, Methodist, Baptist, and obviously later the AME Church. So the AME Church is the great example of that in America, because they obviously had to do with what? They have Episcopal, they have Methodist, right? They have the Baptist. All of these are denominations which is tied to politics of people that are being called Negroes and Black, and those who even went and used the term African at that time. You know what I mean?
Really
and they were freedmen. Yeah, no, I got the whole thing up. See, I'm not gonna play with it.
I got something for that. So as I'm hearing you break that down, right? So it seems the Roman system needs to be in control of your politics, your finances, your churches, and your education. Those are the main things that they want to control so they can shape the narrative and have all the real power, right? So we see that same thing happen in America, right? Where the church has been changed to what it used to be about. It was more than just about whatever you believed in your book. It was about political outcry. It was about local the building, nation building, literally. Like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't just confined to what you believed in and singing some songs. Like what we got church, like that's a far cry from what we know church to be today. You feel me? It's a Sunday service like what we having right here today, where you really build it and you got some information that you can do something with. You know what I'm saying, man?
Of course.
So that's really,
applicable. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for real. That's really about. People believe so much in what their faith was back in the day. They was willing to travel across that water. They was willing to put together all kind of books and conventions, and it was way deeper than what we know it to be. But regardless, the history is always tied to that, and religion is intertwined with the law, no matter how you want to slice it. It's just the facts of the matter.
Right. I mean, shit. I think we got him up to 1865, the freedmen. I mean, that's the.
Hey.
I mean, I want to save the rest because it'll take us somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
So we're gonna end it off like this then. So just to show you the parallels, right? Because we already said that Rome was, so just so y'all can see, right? Make sure we on the same page. Hold on. So basically the banking and all these civil laws. So I want to tie it together. Yeah. So here it is right here. So the civil law is contracts, banks, and charters, right? So let's go to contracts and banks. So the Freedmen Bank, we broke this down. Shout out to Travis with Handsome History. He was talking about the Freedmen Banks and the money and how the whole plan. Now it would make sense why the Freedmen Bank was targeting the land. It got some of the land patent, got everything it needed, collapsed the state banks. Then all of a sudden the Freedmen Bank is gone. Because its only job was for the crown, create this new system to take the land from the people who just had treaty land to get all of it back. So this is how they broke the treaties, for those of y'all wondering. Sign the treaty, you had the land in these areas, the Freedmen Bank and the Roman banking system came to get that land back through taxes, through any kind of deceptive practices, because now they own the land through you becoming a federal citizen. All right. So this is how this all connects. So the state banks, they collapsed. State banks was booming during pre-Civil War. As soon as the Civil War happened and this paperwork changed, state banks was gone. So it literally mirrors Rome's taxation and credit system for control. There was no credit based on persons prior to the Civil War. It was based on your land. If you didn't have land, you wouldn't get no credit. Everything was backed by the land in America. So Rome had this credit system that they brought over through these banks that we all go through to this day. We dealing with creditors, right? You know what I'm saying? That are having a lot of unscrupulous practices, but they can do this based on our federal citizenship. So we just want to make sure that we walking that down. We've hit that on several other videos. That take a whole video in itself, but that's just showing you how we got this so-called federal citizenship. Well, really, and here go the funny part, Matt, this is gonna make you laugh. The one and only thing that the federal citizenship does guarantee you is that you can't be deported. So it's funny, we hear all these black people talking about they coming for Black America. No, they not. They can't deport you if they wanted to. If you got a birth certificate, you were born in this country, they can't do nothing to you as far as deporting you, bro. It's not gonna, I guarantee it.
It's scary, bro. They don't know the law.
Because of the media. Because of the propaganda.
Right, but see, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you're a citizen. Like, what Abraham Lincoln was doing in 1865, we can look at that in America's mirror of the biblical book, or the time frame of Rome in the biblical time frame, and how they walk up to how we walked up to the Edict of Carcalia. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
In 212 AD, and he said, you know what? I'm gonna make all y'all citizens. I don't give a damn if you're white, you're German, Yehudum, you could be a Berber, you know what I'm saying? Everybody tied to our area could be a citizen. Let them all in. You know what I mean? They still ain't gonna be able to vote. They still can't become a king. You know what I mean? They still can't, you know what I mean? But we're gonna let them do their thing. We're gonna eat off them taxes. You know what I'm saying? So we're seeing the same mirror, but people are caught up in all these ideologies or non-ideologies, etc. You know what I mean? Today, So it kind of throws people off understanding the lawful historical timeline of how people with heritage tied to certain things are being treated today. And now they're trying to play us like we fools or something. You know what I mean? By us now saying, "Oh, I'm going to be an African, or I'm going to be a freedman." You know what I mean? And not even
terms that they gave us.
Christianity. Like these are things that the system forced you to do. But today we comfortable with these terms.
We wear it proudly, bro.
Yeah, we running around trying to be systematic property ideals of what they call us. Because now we don't know no better. That's how comfortable we got in their system.
And it's because of the ignorance of the law and the history. You need both. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, we got a couple comments, Mac. So I'm just hit this last slide right here. It's basically just saying, so look, from Rome to Britain to the U.S. federal system is the same legal DNA. All right. So citizenship and freedom became mechanisms of registration and taxation. Freedmen reflects continuity, not liberation, but incorporation. All right. So still, as we speak right now today, this is affluent and well and popping in America. All right. And it all starts from the genealogy, not knowing who you are. Kofi say the Pope them got the land back through the banks. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. All right. And then shout out to Nicosia Lifestyle. She say, this is really turned into my genealogy tree. I thought I was tripping or Family Search was playing games with my family tree. This channel is amazing. Hey, shout out to you. Definitely appreciate that. You know, this is why we do this, Mac. They don't understand. We've been on a long journey to put this information out, and it's been more bumpy than smooth. When you say, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it's not like we just came across this overnight. You know what I mean? This took us a lot of digging in the crates and researching law, understanding history. You have to go into the ministry because, you know, we understand we don't want to be no synagogue of freedmen.
Correct.
Shout out to the party in the ministry.
Can't participate in your own ignorance, bro, if you know better. Bro.
Yeah, once you know better, you do better. And obviously, some people don't catch that. They be thinking you playing with religion with them or something. But again, shout out to the ministry. You know what I mean? Shout out to the gullah. We're going to be redeemed. Esther Lucy. We is that nation of people with our mixtures. You heard me? Stay yasha. Maranatha to you. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
hey,
that's what it is.
So with that, Mac, I'm gonna tell them like this. We transparent over here. So the support on this one has been amazing. Like right now, we got over 220 some people in the chat.
On Facebook?
No, on YouTube.
On YouTube? Well,
yeah.
Shit, I don't even see that. I don't know what's going on. I can't even see them numbers like that. But whatever the case might be, we appreciate y'all for pulling up. I tell you that much.
For sure, definitely. Yeah. It means a lot. We've been on this journey, and we're gonna keep doing it as long as this is what y'all want. Because it's the whole purpose of us doing it. Just is keeping it real. So, you know, once again, we are independent media. Anything that comes our way, we appreciate the support, whether it be a super chat, whether you buy some merch, or whether you just keep tuning in, liking, subscribing, and sharing it with y'all people. It means the world to us. Definitely leave the comments, even if you disagree. As long as you're respectful, we gonna go back and forth. We want to see your sources because you know we always provide ours. So let's just have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? We just want to keep moving it forward. So Mac, you got anything else for the people before we get out of here, bro?
Hey man, the harsh reality is live life autonomously. And with that,
yes, sir. Peace to y'all, man. We'll see y'all on next service, man. Peace.
But the paper said I fit a different role, stamped and filed in a system so cold. They never asked me, they just told. They call me person, but that ain't who I am. I come from people, from spirit, from land. It's more than a label, it's how they divide. But I know the truth deep down inside. People got power, people got pain. Persons of paper caught up in the game. Don't box me in, don't steal my name. I'm not just a number, I'm not their shame. People rise up, speak what you know. You're not a person, you're a soul that glows. Some say it's just words, don't make it deep. But names are spells and the cuts run deep. How they define you's how they bind you. But truth don't sleep, it'll find you. All this legal fiction, built on omission. They rewrote the books and hid opposition. But we're not words, we're not just names. We're breathing proof they can't contain. People got power, people got pain. Persons of paper caught up in the game. Don't box me in, don't steal my name. I'm not just a number, I'm not their shame. People rise up, speak what you know. You're not a person, you're a soul that glows. No barcode, no chain, no check in the file. I'm walking with grace, I'm walking with style. I'm not a thing in a courtroom slide. I'm the people and I won't be denied.
तिनक धिन धागे न 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 तिनक धिन.
Every day I wake, I make my mind up. I'ma be the one, be the truth, be the way. Yeah. Every day I wake, I make my mind up. Gotta keep my mind on the, because they only telling their side of the story. Out here telling lies like they on Morid. And poor rich kids get their money on phone it. But down here in the hood, yeah, we know Forex. We growing up, yeah. We got the goods. Build them assets, build them up fast. Get rid of cash before the whole market crash. A news flash, just a blast from the past. We on the smash, yeah. Be prepared to hit the gas, yeah.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, put your game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Try.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Woo. That's my child. Woo.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the higher, yeah. Sherry know I got from Virginia, yeah.
I know I'm more, because I'm blessed. I know I'm more, I passed the test.
We got to see with the true eyes. We need some brand new bright ideas. We got the hearts and some great minds, yeah. If we could all just be sincere.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, put your game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Try.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Woo. That's my child. Woo.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel. Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, put your game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the higher, yeah.